Thinking, we're thinking about our week. We're thinking about, or especially the faith one that hit me this last week. We think we've got all this faith, right? And then something really, nasty happens, and then all of a sudden we don't think God can help us in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm thinking, well, what happened to all our faith that we had? Yeah.
Yeah, we often make a quick judgment that we're on our own, and we gotta find the resources. And if we can't do it, we'll have to ask God to help us. But we forget that our very life, our very existence, is God in us.
Yeah.
Jesus said, "Without me, you can do pretty much nothing."
Yeah.
He said, "Absolutely, you can do nothing without me."
Yeah.
If we actually believed that, then we couldn't be anywhere without him.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, we've got some friends that are going through really tough stuff. And, they have a really strong faith. And, I like to think that my faith is reasonable. But as soon as these guys are going through this really tough stuff, it was just like, what can be done? The temptation is to lose all faith. But it's like, no, we have to trust God in this too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, just to realize that everything that we do and say is God in us.
Everything we do and think.
Everything we do and say.
And say.
Yeah. Is done by the power of God in us. If we fall asleep and then start living out of our own intellect, our own resources, you can't blame that on God. But He is the one who gives us the power to be. We can't be without Him. So no matter what we're doing, whether we're sinning or whether we're being holy, we're still doing it by the life of God.
Yeah. You know what reminds me of an interesting statement one of the speakers in Reading said. And he said, there's no such thing as an atheist. No such thing as an atheist. You might think you're an atheist, but God didn't create atheists. Every heart has a longing for Him.
Yeah, I like that line in the Count of Monte Cristo, the last version of it, where he's in jail, and the priest breaks into his cell there. And then when the priest is going to die, he said, he tells him he's going to have to use the money, this wealth, for good. And he says, I don't believe in God. He says, that's okay. God believes in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's true. Because that's really what gives us faith, is when we realize that God believes in us.
Yeah.
That's where faith comes from, is knowing that God believes in us.
And really that guy does believe in God.
Yeah, he does
believe in God, but his head is convincing him that there isn't one. Because maybe his heart's been wounded or whatever. Hurting. But for some reason he's convincing himself there isn't a God. But his heart knows. His heart knows there is a God.
Person living in denial.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. I agree with you. It's like that little 15-minute video of Rob Bell's. It's called Breathe, I think. He says, you're sitting across the table from your atheist friend and he's saying, there is no God. And what you hear is he's breathing with the breath of God. You hear the name of God being spoken. So it's in our perception, if we have eyes to see God, the pure in heart see God. The person who can't see God is blind. He says, there is no God. I don't know where God is. But the person whose eyes are open can even hear God when the person is denying God.
Yeah.
Because everything is done by the power of God. We just think we got our own power. We imagine we have our own life.
You don't.
Nobody has their own life. They all live by God's life.
My dad claims to be an atheist. And we get in these discussions that he always brings up. But I just told him last time, I said, Dad, you know what love is. You know what love is.
Yeah. It's true.
And I told him prior to that, I said, God is love, and you know what love is. Yeah.
Yeah, and most people who deny God and reject God, they do it because of the God that they have been given. The perception of God that's been passed to them, that's what they reject. They don't reject God himself.
It's the whole Catholic Church for my dad. Like
they reject their idea of God.
Rejects religion.
Yeah.
And what he's been, the hypocrisies he's seen.
Yes. Many times that's the case. People are rejecting the concept of God.
I don't know. We usually do everything together, and I just said to him this morning after I already decided I was coming, he said, "Oh," and I said, "Yeah. Would you like to come?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, sure, maybe you should." Because it's just you want to by yourself. So
I'll sit in nowhere.
but then tonight I said, "Well, would you like to come?" And he said, "No, I'm listening."
We had a good men's group last night.
Pardon?
We had a good men's group last night.
Yes.
That is amazing tea. You
Oh,
should
good.
that. Why is it ever good?
It's good for him to
Yeah.
be involved.
Thank you, Abby.
You're welcome.
Those are
Have
for
you
you.
read the apocryphal writings, other gospels, like the Old Testament, or I don't know?
The Book of Enoch?
Yeah.
I never have. I've browsed through the apocryphal books, but I've never read them. Why do you ask?
Okay, you know what a Gnostic is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So then, I suppose there's different definitions of what a Gnostic is.
Yeah, there is.
It just gets more into, if I was looking through some of the highlights of the Book of Enoch, who was going into detail on angels, and it was read a lot like the Book of Revelation. It was very well written, and it sounded almost like poetry, and easy to listen to. But, you know, in Genesis, when they mention Nephilim and the sons of God and the daughters of men, and you just kind of blink and you think, well, wow, I guess that's just kind of a minor detail. But then you look at the Book of Enoch, and it's a whole other world. Like, he doesn't just brush it off.
Right.
He's got it, like, expanded. So, and it really puts it into, I think, more intimate. It's not so much just a narrative, like it's more of an intimate thing that you can think of it that way, I guess.
I've never read it. I'll have to read it.
Yeah. It's actually on,
So he sort of ties the spirit world and natural world together.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Very much so. And if you want it easy, just go Google Book of Enoch, and it'll come up with a nice audio of it, along with videos and pictures and
How long
diagrams.
is it? How long is it?
Not that long, like.
Oh, it's a
I
short
mean-
book.
So it's about the same as the Book of Revelation, or not
I
that
think
long?
it's divided up into 3 sections,
Right.
so I think it's shorter than Genesis.
I wonder what Chuck Missler.
Yeah.
Well, basically what I understand Gnosticism to be is a division between the natural and the spiritual. The Gnostics that Paul was dealing with in the New Testament, some of his letters, like in Corinthians, he talks about moral purity, because the Gnostics believed that whatever you did with your body didn't matter. It was your mind and your spirit that mattered. So if your spirit and your mind were holy, you could do whatever with your body, because it was unholy. And so fornication wasn't an issue. And that's what Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 6. He says, do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, which you have from God, and you are not your own? If you defile the temple of God, God will destroy you. Because they're integrated. They're not two things. They're one. So basically, that's the root of Gnosticism, is it separates secular and sacred. And our world is pretty much Gnostic in the world we live in. Because we have that division of sacred and
Church and state.
yeah, church and state. Everything, our worldview is pretty Gnostic, because we think certain things are holy and certain things aren't holy. And everything's holy, because we're holy. You know, we tend to think what we do on our own time is our business. You know, and the rest, you know, we designate certain things for God.
Compartmentalize it.
We do, and that's Gnosticism. So our world, the world we live in, has got a lot of influence from the Greeks in that way.
That's right. Remember we were talking about that Thursday night with that VBI thing. And I said, what would our society be closest to? And we thought, the Greeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we think the way the Greeks think. We're very compartmentalized, like you said. And that's the way it was, you know, in Jesus' day. The Greek culture has permeated the whole Western mindset.
What do you think, Gabby? Is that true?
That'd be sort of common.
Well,
Not entirely.
a good
We're a little
example.
bit different than the typical Greek, eh?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
If it's more, you're talking ancient Greek.
Yeah, classical Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A good example is medicine. You know, like
Yeah.
I practice medicine, and so I put on my doctor hat and go to war against disease,
Mhm.
pestilence, with antibiotics. But if I put on my Bible student hat, look in the Bible, I go to war with prayer and casting out demons. You know, it's like, are antibiotics the same as something that can cast out demons? Or it's like you just compartmentalize it, whatever is convenient.
We do, and we do it without even thinking, because it's our culture. We don't see it anymore, because we were brought up in it. But the Eastern cultures are very different. Like the Hebrew culture is a very different culture than the Western. For that very reason, their worldview and their value system is completely different. The Hebrews, the ancient Hebrews, I don't know about the Western ones now, but the ancient Hebrews, and even the Eastern nations like the Arab nations, and the Orientals, tend to be more holistic in their thinking. We divide everything up. Everything's compartmentalized. Whereas the Eastern mind is more holistic. Now that's why Chinese medicine is holistic, because that's the way they think.
Actually, that Vintner, what's his name?
Andrew?
Andrew Vintner, that's what he said, you know. Our Western medicine is so foreign to biblical way of thinking. And biblical way of thinking is way more holistic.
It is, totally.
And it would be way more supportive of natural medicine, naturopathic medicine. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, even the way we look at people. We compartmentalize people in the West. For instance, if a person does a certain bad thing, then we will write the whole person off for one bad decision he made. Where the Eastern mind is, they would look at that and say, well, you know, he's 50 years old, he's still got 40 years to go, we'll wait till he's 100 and then we'll make a decision on it.
Yeah.
See, they judge the person by his whole life, not just by one event.
Yeah.
He made a mistake, big deal.
Yeah.
You know, where we think, the guy's a write-off.